Live from Houston, Texas, a show for local business owners. This is Business Houston Podcast. If you're a small or medium-sized business, this is your source for trends, interviews, and tips for winning in today's economic climate. Presented by the BBB for Greater Houston and South Texas. You're listening to Business Houston, and this is your host, Matt Bertram.
Hello, welcome to Houston Business Podcast. My name is Matt Bertram. I'm here with Dr. Brett Franson. Brett, how are you doing today?
Doing great. Thanks for asking, Matt.
Yeah, and I know we're doing a late live session here because you're busy seeing patients during the day. So I certainly appreciate you taking some time out to tell us a little bit about it. I know I have been to you for a couple years, so I am excited to do this podcast and share with everyone out there how fantastic you are. So, Brett, Dr. Franson, could you tell us a little bit about maybe how you got started in the business, how you kind of view it, and then kind of what you kind of do or specialize in?
Well, I mean, I started a long time ago. I've been practicing for 30 years, so it goes way back. I guess just real quick, when I was a 14-year-old kid in science class, I took a test, said I'd be really good at it. I thought that's going to do it for the rest of my life. And by the age of 23, I had my doctorate's degree. You stayed on course, and I'm certain that you've really perfected your skill set. I know that, I've been to a number of other chiropractors out there, and they usually use some kind of machines or they need to do x-rays before they work with you. I know that there's people out there that are concerned, like, you're going to get your neck snapped. I think that's probably the biggest fear out there. I don't know. It's certainly a misconception. But maybe you can just kind of talk a little bit about maybe how you're different than other chiropractors, what your philosophy is, and is your neck going to snap or not? Like, I think that's really important. Did you freeze up on me? Are you there? All right, I'm going to hide my camera, see if we can get some feedback coming back. Uh-oh. There you go. Okay.
All right, yeah. I don't know if you can hide your camera. I don't know if you can hide your camera, Brett, so we can get
okay.
Yeah.
You want me to hide my camera?
No.
Black it out
what I was doing was turn it off. Turn it off so we get more bandwidth coming through. But I've turned mine off so you can talk. So you pull yours back. So everybody wants to hear you anyway.
Turn my camera off?
No, it's fine. Just go. We're good.
Okay, so if I turn my camera, just go. Okay, got it. Yeah, where did you want me to start again? We can certainly edit some of this out. We're live on this one, right? But sure.
Tell me about how, I've been to a number of other chiropractors, and I'm sure there's people out there who have been to different chiropractors, and they use all kinds of equipment, right? To quote unquote adjust you. So can you kind of speak to kind of some of that, and then maybe a little bit more about how you're different or your outlook? And then I think that people are worried about like something maybe like their neck snapping or their back snapping or something like that, and why that might be a story tell.
Yeah. Okay, I understand what you're asking. Sure. Yeah. I guess a good way to put it. I mean, chiropractic itself, it's based on a science, it's based on a certain philosophy, and there's an art to it. So every chiropractor has their own approach. Some people like to use machines and equipment. I've used those in the past, but throughout time, I've kind of graduated to hands only. Chiropractic literally means done by hand. So I like to do it by hand, a traditional old school chiropractic approach. And why would I be any different? Just who I've trained with, the length of time I've trained. And there's some chiropractors that I've worked with that I considered masters and exceptional adjusters, and just had to be willing to train with them, learn from them, listen to them, see things the way that they were willing to see things. And it kind of opened me up to approaching a patient in a slightly different way, because I hear feedback from patients all the time about how rough some chiropractors were, or certain things that they did that they found uncomfortable or scary. And so one of the primary focuses of my approach with people is to quell their fears, to put them at ease, to give them a chance to be on the table and feel like what's about to happen is something that they can trust. That's a really big, important part of the way I approach things, is developing that trust and that connection with the patient, and then showing them that being adjusted can be almost an artistic thing, gentle, precise, focused, and then to get the result when they let go after adjusting them and release all that pressure, then that really speaks to the approach itself, the feeling that they get. They don't feel like they've been wrenched or, as you said, snapped, that they've actually been lightened up. That's the most common thing I hear people say is, wow, and I feel so much lighter. And I just love to hear that from folks.
No, that's fantastic. Can you speak to like why I guess some chiropractors use like x-rays prior to adjustment and your approach to that sort of thing?
Yeah, everybody, again, like I said, has their own approach. I used to use x-ray back in the day, but there's a funny thing about x-rays. It's great to use them to see if there's some sort of a pathology or some issue. Usually I will refer people out for an x-ray if when they come in, they've had some sort of major trauma, or if during the exam, a few red flags show up, something that kind of raises an eyebrow that I want to get a closer look at. So I will refer people out for it. But I found that when I go to adjust, I'm more interested in the motion, how things move. And with good palpation skills, you can really feel and sense what's going on in there. Now, some people might argue that point, but I've worked with a lot of chiropractors over the years that, you do things by palpation, you adjust according to motion. If you're really paying attention, you can sense when to adjust, where to adjust. The body gives you feedback. But like I said, we always want to play it safe. So if there is something that raises an eyebrow, we want to refer them out for some studies to make sure that everything's safe to do in there.
Got it. And so I know that a lot of people, maybe they're hesitant to go to a chiropractor. They're worried that like something could happen with their neck or their back or something like that. I mean, why is that like a fear out there? And maybe could you speak to, what from your standpoint that looks like?
Yeah, I guess, I'm trying to understand how people look at it from the outside in. I guess a lot of it's, you see things on TV. And you see the crime drama shows where guys get snuck up on and grab their head and give it a big crank and they snap their neck and they're done. That's not what we do. And I guess there's been some propaganda and fear over the years from various areas that chiropractors have been kind of picked on for a long time and we're used to it. But as far as snapping a neck, I did train in martial arts for many years, and I'll tell you, adjusting someone's spine and trying to use some sort of a self-defense move to stop them are like polar opposite effects. Okay. I guess one thing I want people to understand is an adjustment to the spine is a very small amount of force applied very specifically. We're not just grabbing hold and giving a big old yank. Sometimes you can see videos online where chiropractors do these, what I'll personally consider rather extravagant looking techniques that seem extremely violent. And I can understand why some people would be scared, because I don't know that I would want to entertain that myself. But an adjustment's very small. It's so much so that you can adjust kids safely without any issue, and they do great.
You've actually adjusted my 1.5-year-old and 3-year-old, and they were totally okay with it. And right. Sometimes you hung them upside down and you looked at them, and one of them, the second time they came in, they didn't need it, right?
It's a strange thing, but yeah, kids respond really well to an adjusting. And like I said, you don't adjust a kid or a child the same way you do an adult. You have to match the patient's tone, their size, the density of their muscle, their bone structure. All those things play a part in how you deliver an adjustment to a human being.
And probably people are like, oh my gosh, you let someone adjust your kid. But I really trust what you do, and you're very precise on how you do it. I think one of the good things that might be good to chat about is kind of your outlook to like what an adjustment is and like why you need it, right? Like, and
sure.
And I think that that's been a lot of education that you've been able to provide me on, this is a maintenance kind of situation, right? Like you don't just get adjusted and okay, I'm healed kind of thing. It's really a process, and depending on what you're doing, like, okay, I sit at a computer all day. There's certain patterns that I develop that you really have to have motion and move. Maybe you can speak to kind of some of that, maybe,
Sure.
you know, in a nutshell, that we've had a lot of those kind of conversations. And,
Right.
You know, I think that that's a really good, important point that I think people should hear.
Sure. Yeah, I like talking about that. You know, there's all kinds of services for the human body. You got hairstylists, you got dentists, you got massage therapists, you got people that check this, that, and the next thing. And our job is to make sure that your spine and nervous system are working properly. That's our focus. And here's how I look at it. As human beings go, we all get overwhelmed from time to time, do we not? I mean, everybody's dealing with the things in their life, their relationships, their finances, their business, their family, their health. All those things are a factor in their lives. And every now and then people get overwhelmed. So here's how I kind of address it with patients. I just ask them, I say, look, when you're stressed out and overwhelmed, does your body feel relaxed and calm, or does it feel more tense and contracted? And of course, we all say tense and contracted. And then I just ask them, I say, look, would it be fair to say that maybe you have kind of a pattern of stress in your life, the same old things over and over and over? And of course, most of us do. And so if we have the same pattern of stress in our lives, would it be reasonable to assume that we have the same pattern of contraction and tension going on in our bodies over and over and over and over and over, day in, day out, what people call the grind? And then I got to thinking, well, if you do something over and over, doesn't that kind of make it into a habit? So now people walking around with a habit of tension, you know, the mom who carries the child on the hip and the purse on the shoulder, or the guy who drives a lot for his job and puts his elbow on the console and left hand up on the steering wheel, and he's always off to the side for hours a day. Or nowadays, people staring at their phones for hours a day, or on computers like we are right now. It goes on and on. Even your posture. These are habits and patterns of tension that build up. And you can handle a ton of it. Your body can adapt to a ton of that up to a point. Everybody has a line in the sand. So when your system gets to that point of constantly adapting and dealing with the stress of life, and if it gets to be just too much, something's got to give. And I call that, I mean, some people in our profession will call that being subluxated. The body subluxates. It like twists up, finally, and it locks up. It's just too much. We get overwhelmed. People snap. They lose their cool, fly off the handle. You've heard all kinds of these cliche statements. You know, there's the straw that broke the camel's back. That's when things get to be too much, and that one last thing puts us over the edge, and boom, we twist up. And then you're going to get pain. Because things in your body that are supposed to move, as long as they're moving, you don't even notice. But if they stop moving, you notice. It hurts. Things are supposed to move. And so people come in that contracted, twisted up, distorted state. I like to say life twists us up. Eventually, it's going to twist us into the ground. Okay? My job is to find out how you're twisted and start the process of adjusting you to untwist you. And so to me, an adjustment is a small force imparted into the neurospinal system, into the spinal column, to release this stored tension so it can let go, like tension on a mousetrap. You hit that cheese and it lets go of the tension. So if you can let go of your stress, you can integrate it, release it, however, what kind of terminology you want. How does it feel when you let go of stress and pressure? Don't you feel lighter? And that's what a lot of people explain that they feel after an adjustment, is they just feel lighter, like a weight's been lifted off their shoulders. And that's kind of how I see it. It's just a pattern of contraction and stress and tension that builds up. You could almost call it a form of PTSD. People have all this stress and trauma in their lives and just builds up as tension. My job is to find that and set it free before it becomes a real major problem.
Got it. Man, that just makes so much sense. I enjoy hearing you talk about this. So let's talk a little bit about maybe, you know, the types of people that, you know, chiropractics really benefits. So I know we've talked, you know, herniated discs and back pain and, you know, chronic pain, neck pain. And I know that, you know, chiropractors have a certain way of, you know, viewing that sort of thing, because you're not like a direct solution to that, or I don't know what the misconnotation there is, if you want to quickly address that. But talk about the people that have these sorts of pains, and who could really benefit from chiropractics if they're in pain and they're looking for a solution.
Sure. The first rule of thumb is that you do not have to be in pain to get well. But pain is usually the last thing your body does and able to let you know that something's not working the way it's supposed to. So most people that do come into my office, typically it's just because of conventional perspectives, I assume, is for neck pain, back pain, and many times headaches. Those are the most common things that bring people to a chiropractor, and I get it. We focus on the spine and the back, and therefore that's what people think we take care of. However, our main focus is actually the nerves. It's just that most of the nerves in your body that connect your brain to it are inside your spine and intimately connected to it. So if most of that's what we're trying to address is the nervous system, not necessarily the spinal system. Because if most of your nerves were in your right arm, they'd refer to us as right arm doctors instead of back doctors. But because most of our stress that we experience, I mean, if you think about it, where do you feel most of your emotions? Like, have you ever had heartache in your life? Where did you feel that? Yeah, right here in your chest. Okay, that hurts right there. Or if you're worried, you feel that down in your guts. Or if you need to speak up and you're afraid to, you get all choked up right here. Or if you're trying to think ahead and plan your business and your life, and you're like trying to think it through, it's right in here. So it's always down the middle of our body where we feel all of this stress and tension in the system. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah,
it's always right down the core. So that's why we focus on the spine and nervous system, because that's where most of that stress is going to go, right down the middle of the body, right down the chassis. So we want to focus on releasing the core, what we call the central nervous system core. Set that free, make it free up. And so what happens is when people get stressed, those structures in the spines is very dynamic. They lock up, just like you can jam a finger and jam a joint, and now you make a fist like this, okay? And I can go in there, I can pop that finger loose, and now it'll bend a little bit more freely. Now, it might still be sore, but at least now it moves the way it's supposed to, so it feels better. Same thing with a toe, and the same thing with joints along the spine. That they can get locked up. It's a vertical column of knuckles that carries your body weight all the time, and half the time we're carrying stuff on a shoulder or carrying a kid. You know about carrying a kid all the time. Okay. Yeah, those tensions build up right down the middle of the body. So that's where people get a lot of their pain in their neck and in their back. I do want to address one thing, though, I think is important. Pain is never really the problem. Not really. There's a problem that's causing your pain. So to only address the pain may not necessarily address the real underlying problem. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, I know a lot of guys on a Saturday night that are, feeling no pain, but they're definitely not functioning at a higher level. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I mean, I know that, I came to you initially for pain, right? And then
Right.
that pain kept coming back, so I had to keep coming back. And then eventually, based on different habits as well as continuing to come to you, wasn't in pain anymore. But then I realized to stay out of pain, to not only come to you when I'm in pain, I'm already kind of like to that threshold, right? And so it became more of a maintenance situation. And then also you've been able to work out patterns a lot deeper, right? And so things adjust easier, and really like stress reduction, sleep, no headaches. Everything, if you're, I guess, taking care of your body and you're releasing that tension, you feel lighter, you feel better. And it just helps you function better. Right. And I think that's, the thing that I've really kind of changed. And I know, I think every week, right, you get adjusted as well with another chiropractor. I mean, and you've tried a lot of different things. And I mean, chiropractics really address the body symptoms and
Sure.
Makes you, just function better, right? Like, I think that a lot of people do not look at chiropractic that way, or even any addressing pain in general. I don't think people think through, well, I've hit the threshold that something is in pain. So, there's a lot that builds up to that before your body starts telling you. And I think that, people only address it when it becomes an issue. I don't know.
Well, I like to use, me, you've known me long enough. I like to use a lot of metaphors and analogies. And one that I like to use to describe what you just did is that on your car, you have a check oil light that can come on, but it only comes on after you've lost probably about 2 quarts of oil. Now, you've had other symptoms that you've been losing oil. There's a little spot on the parking lot where you park. There's a little spot in the garage or in the driveway, but you kind of poo-poo it. You don't notice it. Well, the body does the same thing. It gives us these little signals and signs all the time, but we're too busy. We don't have time for that. Okay, it's not bad enough. I don't need to deal with it. Maybe it'll go away on its own. So we keep on going, keep on doing, keep on driving the vehicle with an oil leak, so to speak. Next thing you know, the oil leak comes on. That's the pain that comes. By that time, hey, you know, something's wrong. And it could have been addressed ahead of time. But as human beings go, we are motivated by pain. We're hardwired that way. And a lot of times human beings, there's a kind of a saying that says, it is only at the precipice that we change, which basically means that when the pain of staying the same finally becomes greater than the pain of doing something about it, that's when people tend to do something about it. And usually pain is the primary motivating force. So it's just human nature. It's nobody's fault. I get it. But imagine if we treated our teeth the same way, that we only brush them or floss them when they hurt. Could you imagine how things would be? Yeah. Social distancing and taking a whole new meeting, like, whoo, get away. But well, yeah, it's like you said, it can be for maintenance. It can also be to promote normal function. People can use it for prevention. People can use the service any way they like. Some folks want to do the quick fix. They want to come a couple times so they feel a little bit better. That's fine if that's how you want to do it. Some people like to do it on a regular basis to keep themselves tuned up and help to alleviate stress. Some folks just want to come in and talk my ear off, and I just want to listen, ask them questions, and help them process some of their stress so they don't get all wadded up. And that's something I love to do too. Just consult people, really listen, and help them find new approaches, new patterns, new habits, or maybe just ask them a question they wouldn't ask themselves and help them start thinking a little bit different way, makes them take some different actions, get some better results in their life.
Well, you know, Brett, I think that that's something you do really well, is you're a really good listener and you really help coach people like holistically, or looking at like what they need to be doing to improve their life from a health standpoint. And I think that that is a really big differentiator between maybe you and other chiropractors out there. In your eyes, though, what are the things that you want people to know about how you're different than maybe, you know, all the other chiropractors out there? How would you differentiate that? And then tell me a little bit about, you know, you're a member of the BBB. You know, that's why we're doing this interview, and maybe talk a little bit about that as well. So
sure. I guess one of the main things about me is I'm kind of blunt, matter of fact. I'll tell it like it is. I'm not here to, you know, blow sunshine and you know where. I'll tell it to you straight, what I think is going on, what I think we need to do. And we're going to do an exam. We're actually going to have you bend and move and find out what you can and cannot do. And I like to sit down with my patients and really explain things to them. I guess maybe some might think I talk too much, but I want a person to understand what's going on with their body so that they can start thinking differently, making better decisions for themselves. People need to know what's going on the inside. I think they have a right to know. And I like to take the time to make sure to explain that. That might be the thing that's different about me, because from what I hear from feedback from other patients is the doctors never take time to listen. They're always so busy, so fast. I like to take the time to listen. I'm interested in what people have to say, and I want to help them understand what's really going on. So for me, it's very straightforward what I do. You come to my office, no frills, no fluff, straight up chiropractic adjusting. That's all I do. I just want to be the best I can be at one thing. I'm not interested in doing a whole lot of this and a whole lot of that and being distracted. Some people are focused that way and organized that way. Fantastic. I'm glad to hear it, but it's just not me. I want to get in there, find out what's going on, get you adjusted, figure out a plan that'll get you the results that you want, stick with it, get it done. And hey, if I get the results, then you tell other people, and that's how this spreads.
I like that. Tell me, you know, why you became a member of the BBB and what maybe the BBB means to you.
Well, you know, I wanted people to know that I'm straight up, that, you know, that I can be trusted to take care of things, that I'm a business, that I'm just trying to be on the level. And I'm not trying to oversell or push any products or services that I don't think people need. I just want to provide straight, good, solid, affordable chiropractic care in a convenient way that can give people a chance to trust what's happening. to me, again, trust is the biggest part of the whole process, because where trust is in between two people, that's when the magic happens. And the BBB is a symbol of that trust. Whenever I see that, I know that business has been interviewed, that they've done the footwork to guarantee that people can trust that they're going to take care of their financial, physical, professional, personal interests, whatever it is that they provide, that business has the BBB on their facility, on their website, to let people know they're a trustworthy organization.
Love that. All right. So I really like that. I feel like you've been able to kind of share with the audience, who you are, what your outlook is. If there's somebody out there that has never maybe been adjusted before or hasn't been adjusted in a long time, what's a word of advice to them that might be out there kind of suffering and going, man, like I actually probably could use an adjustment, but there might be fear or something preventing them from taking the next step. Maybe someone they don't feel comfortable with. Who knows?
Sure. The number one thing is, if they're willing to at least sit down with me one-on-one, let me listen to their story. Let me ask them some questions. Just see if we're a good fit to address their fears, to explain things in a way that is understandable, to help them feel comfortable with the process. It's just a consultation that I would offer. It's complimentary. It's not a commitment. It's just a conversation. So if they want to come in and chit chat with me, my office hours are Monday through Thursday, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. They're welcome to just walk in, and it might be a couple minutes, but if I can get to them, I'll sit down. And I just want to give them a chance to talk to the doc without feeling they have to commit or sign up or go through the whole process, to make it comfortable for them, to put them at ease. I'm more than open and welcome to provide that service for people if they're so interested.
Awesome. And so where are you located?
I'm in the kind of the west side of the West Chase area, kind of the energy corridor. I'm off of Derry Ashford Road, about 2 blocks south of Briar Forest.
Okay. And what's the best way? Like they can walk in, you can fit them in. I think that's fantastic. If someone's just in pain, they can look you up. Franson Chiropractor, right? FransonChiropractor.com, Franson Chiropractic, FransonChiropractor.com. Maybe, what's a good number to reach out to you at if I know they can go to the website and it looks like fill out a form.
Sure.
The number
they can call this number right here. It's 281-701-1596. Again, that's 281-701-1596. You can contact me directly, day or night.
That he's holding up his phone for anybody that's listening. So I guess they could text you too. Would text you be all right?
Send me a text, email through Brett Franson at gmail.com. That works fine too. However they want, whatever's comfortable for them, I'll get to them as fast as I can.
Fantastic. Well, Brett, or Dr. Franson, Dr. Franson, it was great.
It's all the same. Brett's fine. I like it.
It's great having you on Business Houston podcast. I would encourage people to go check you out. I've been to a number of chiropractors, and as soon as I found you, I've never been anywhere else. So really
you've been great, Matt. I appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks so much for listening. Business Houston puts a spotlight on local small and medium-sized business, interviewing those successful business owners in Houston and those business owners that are winning in today's economic climate. Business Houston is presented to you by the BBB of Greater Houston and South Texas. Make sure to like, rate, and review the show. We'll be back soon. But in the meantime, hook up with us on social media at Hugh Biz Podcast. That's HOU Biz Podcast. Till next time, this is Business Houston.